Well, I got a woman way over town that's good to me.
Hey, everybody, another great week when we're to spend with you. It's Main Street Money here on Cruisin' 92.1 FM WVLT, coming to you every Saturday from 11 to 12. I'm Joe Yocavitch, and with me, as usually and always, is the beautiful Traci Kelly. Hello, Traci.
Hi, Joe. Hi, everyone.
You know, we got a great show today. We have Lisa Moore, attorney, that is going to deal with all the not fun problems that we're all faced with in the world of divorce. So we're going to talk with her at the break. And as usual, we will bring you the truth about money and the divorce situation out there. That's going to be fun.
It is.
I'm looking forward to her.
Super fun.
I know one thing. Lisa Moore, let me tell you something. Not only she is good at what she does, but she's one of our workout buddies also. Mm-hmm. So we get a chance to see her and have some fun with her today, and I'm looking forward to it. You know, one thing we talk about all the time, we work with you, not the media, and it's not about Wall Street, but you. There's so much information we try to get out to you in terms of news, tips, and things that you can really use and use immediately, and not something you just use once in a while. But this is something we believe in, and you'll see and hear the information we're going to pass along to you this year, especially on, you know, how things work, why they don't work, and such. So we're looking forward to talking to you. I want to go over a few things. I mean, I'm a little overwhelmed with this polar vortex, Traci. Another what?
You're overwhelmed.
I had enough of it. I'm done with snow. I loved snow when I was 6 years old, but now I'm not having any more fun.
Yeah.
We're expecting another.
Supposedly another
6 to 10?
Another snowstorm, possibly tomorrow. Which, if we get in this area 7 more inches of snow this year, it'll be the second snowiest winter ever in this area.
And one of the coldest too.
Yeah, one of the coldest. Although the coldest recorded temperature in Philadelphia was 11 degrees minus.
Minus 11 degrees.
That was in 1937.
You weren't around in 37, were you?
No,
you weren't
slightly thereafter.
A little bit.
I think you were there, though, right?
No. I have a 37 car I wanted, but not the case. I used to be 37 a couple years ago.
You did, yes.
You know.
I guess so. Perception is reality. But yeah, I'm over it. I'm over this cold. It's hard to get motivated to do anything. You know, you just want to stay in bed and watch movies. But tonight. Somebody's jersey's getting retired. Did you hear about this?
Oh, is it my boy AI?
Yes, it is.
Yes, nice.
Yeah, Allen Iverson's jersey's getting
stud.
retired.
Let me tell you something. Not for nothing. He is one of the stud athletes. If you looked at his career from high school to college, went to Georgetown, great athlete, and one of the smallest NBA players ever, and had just the guts to take it in the middle and take it against big guys. And I like Allen Iverson. I like Iverson all big time. I have his jersey, and I really like his gutsy way he played. And I'll tell you, if you're going to pick a team, he's one of my first round picks, bar none.
You're not going to believe this, but I actually have his home jersey and his away jersey. I liked the guy, just like Tio. I love somebody with attitude, but I remember going to Modell's and going to the kids department and picking up both of them. So that's interesting.
You know, I want to go over some things with you, Trace, a little serious note on why we do what we do about the markets this week. I mean, it's been all over the place again. It's another reaching a high of 16,300. But, you know, if you look at the market, at least in 2013, I'm going to give you some facts here. You know, it's been a banner year for stocks. Dow was up 26%, best since 1995. The S&P was up 30%, the best in 16 years. And the NASDAQ, which make up of small companies, was up 38% for 2013. So you need to really take a close look at market volatility as part of your portfolio. But more important, let me give you the downside. Government bonds were down 4%, and it's the worst in decades that government bonds were down. And longer-term bond maturities lost about 15%. What I got here? I got wheat was down 22%, soybeans down 8%, copper 7%, platinum 10%, and the one we talk about all the time is gold. Gold was down 28%. It peaked in 2011 at 1,900 an ounce and is now hovering somewhere about 1,200. So for those of you that were gold buyers, and we talked about gold all the time as the staple, you need to be careful because it doesn't make anything, and it's all over the place. And again, down 28%. So be aware of the things that you purchase and how we purchase equities.
Well, you always need to be aware and be careful. And I heard the thing that I just don't like hearing when I was this morning getting my coffee at my favorite place, Starbucks. Shameless plug. I heard some people talking about the stock market and how well it was doing. And I heard this sentence that I tend to hear a lot. And I said, Tracy, keep your mouth shut. Well, it looks like it's time to get back into the market. And I thought, oh, my goodness, why now? I mean, I wish that you were already in it, but why would you go and buy in now when it's at the height? You should have bought back in when it was at the drop. You're buying things at full price when you could have bought them on sale. That's not
well. You know what? Believe it or not, there's a lot of folks still sitting in cash.
I
a lot
believe
in
it.
cash, and
I know it,
and have been sitting in cash for some time since '08 when the market did make that dive deep. But more importantly, the numbers I threw out to all of you. Remember, there were some other great things that have happened in the foreign stock exchange. Because again, folks, when we diversify portfolios and how we do what we do, we own equities all over the place, meaning all over the planet, meaning that we're buying things in Argentina, Japan, Pakistan, Bulgaria, and your country, Ireland. Just to give you some numbers, Dubai up 108% in 2013. Argentina, 89. Adult Dubai, 63. Japan, 57. Pakistan, 49. Nigeria, 47. Bulgaria, 42. And you, of all countries, your country,
again, another
up 34%.
Which one? Which one are you talking about? Ireland?
Ireland was up 34% as a country. And it's so funny because if you take this away, and no one can predict what stocks are going to do, but we try to look at things on a long-term basis. Remember, we had this problem of one of the extreme, we call them pigs, Portugal, Italy, Ireland, Greece, and Spain. They were supposed to go into a bankruptcy in 2013, but came out of it and did very well. So being diversified.
Irish.
Pardon me?
Go Irish.
Go Irish, yeah.
I'll tell you what, I was in Ireland, I think it was like 2 years ago now, and we were not in a good state ourselves as far as economically, but they were very economically depressed over there. And everybody that I met, talking about how many businesses were out of business, whether you were in Dublin or, out in Galway or Killarney, outside of the urban sprawl. And it was scary. I mean, it was very depressed. So I am super happy to hear my fellow leprechauns are doing better. I mean, and it couldn't come at a better time. It's March. It's March.
It's March,
St.
right?
Patrick's
Coming up
Day.
here. Another thing, it's really important. No one can predict what the stock prices will do in the short term. It's impossible. It really is. So you should never try to, attempt to do this on your own and pick what company or what country or what the market's going to do. You need to diversify prudently and be well balanced, and more importantly, keep in the market. Do not come out and come into the market because it doesn't make any sense. For those of you that want to contact us about any things we're talking about today or in the future, you can give us a call at 856-751-1771, or you can reach us on www.jmlfinancialgroup.com.
Speaking of not so fun topics, as we were talking about earlier with divorce, number one reported consumer fraud. You have any idea what it is without looking at the
No, I don't. I'm not looking at anything right now. Go ahead.
The number one most reported consumer fraud in the USA is related to weight loss products.
Really?
Yeah, and this comes after a report, citing some of these weight loss advertisements that show before and after pictures and saying that either those models never took those products, they have nothing to do with it, or that it's the result of some really clever photography, photoshopping and tanning and things like that. But That is the #1 reported consumer fraud in the United States.
Can
you ever fell for it?
No.
Never fallen for any of that?
I never even thought about it. I mean, it's funny you say that because before I got here this morning in the office, there were a show I was watching. It was, I don't know if it was the Today Show, and believe it or not, you're not going to like what I'm about to say to you. 65% of the women in America dress sizes are 16 plus. 65%. And they had 2 ladies on, very pretty ladies for that matter, that were doing some runway modeling. And they were both big women. So it's just funny, and when I say that, I don't mean in a funny way, but I'm saying to you, knowing that, we talk about working out, we talk about keeping in shape, we're talking about if you want to lose weight, obviously you move more, you eat less, no different in how we talk about money. But it was just interesting, 65% of females are over the size of 16 plus.
Wow.
Now, you're like a 14 and a half. No, I'm just
Joseph. I truly believe that, beauty knows no size, and that we are all beautiful and our weight should not characterize who we are. However, from the standpoint of health and also financial wellness, this concerns me because it is not healthy to be, overweight or obese. And I do truly believe there's a major correlation between your physical health and your physical, FIC. Not just that, you end up spending more in medical bills and things like that. But I know for me, when I'm feeling energetic and I'm at my best, I'm productive. I can go, I want to do my job. I want to be a really great contributor to my family, my relationships, my friends. And when I've just thrown down, a pizza and I feel
not
sluggish.
Good.
I just want to take a nap.
No,
So this
hear
concerns me.
I just picked up the book for the second time. I read through it, but just before we came on today, I was reading a couple of the pages, and it was called The Millionaire Mind. And it was really, it's again going back to what we talk about all the time, and it was just funny. They were looking at millionaires, and they looked at 50 millionaires and how they live. And the #1 thing was they didn't live over their head. Right. They were very modest in terms of how they lived. They drove normal cars, Chevys, Fords, etc. They lived in modest houses. It wasn't over their head. They weren't up to their nose in debt, trying to keep up with the Joneses, and they were millionaires from that standpoint. They weren't, they weren't investors, or they weren't, taking shots or taking stabs in the market or going to casinos and gambling and all this other stuff. But just because the way they did things, and everybody wants this instamatic gratification of being wealthy or making money, that's not the case here. And they did it on a very strategic, methodical way of saving and keeping, and believe it or not, keeping their debt ratio low. So they saved more, didn't spend more, and lived modest. And that became their core for themselves and their family and their businesses.
Absolutely. And I'm going to get deep with you for a second before we go to break. I truly believe that while money affords you freedoms and the ability to be generous, the coveting of things, as we do in this environment we're in now, in this culture, wanting to either keep up with the Jones, or I have to have a new this, I have to have a new that, a bigger house, a newer car. It doesn't make you a happier person.
It does not. You're absolutely right, Tracy. It does not. And it's affecting all of us, because we're going to be talking about, on the other side of the break, about Social Security and the reality versus perception on how people make money. But more importantly, what's going to start to happen because of the dilemma that we're all faced with this Social Security. People actually think they're going to, retire just on Social Security.
So
Trace, we're going to come
less.
out. I'm sorry.
So spend less and
save more.
Save more.
And it's easy.
And maybe meditate to find your happiness.
I like the meditation thing.
I'm
really
trying.
do.
I'm still on my meditation challenge.
You
it's
got
not
it.
easy.
I like it. I like it. Well, we're closing in the first couple of minutes with you, but stick around. We're going to have Lisa Moore that talks to us about divorce situations. That's in New Jersey. She has an office in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. We're looking forward to speaking with her. We'll be back in less than a minute on Main Street Money on Cruisin' 92.1 FM WVLT. Listen to me.
I heard you, Joe.
I mean the listening audience, Tracy.
Okay, when?
Every Saturday, 11 o'clock, we get real about money and we have fun.
That's right. We'll simplify all the issues when it comes to your money and give you some tips on how to make it, protect it, and keep it.
But they have to listen.
Okay, you can only ask nicely.
All right. It's Main Street Money coming to you every Saturday from 11 to 12 on Cruisin' 92.1 FM WVLT.
And we are back. It's Main Street Money here on Cruisin' 92.1 FM WVLT, where we hang out with you every Saturday from 11 to 12. And we're so happy that you joined us and that you join us, we hope, every Saturday, where we give you the truth about money and everything around it, everything that concerns it. And you'll hear that coming up with our next guest, who I am very, very, very excited to have here. She is a friend of Main Street Money, not just an expert guest. I think she's a friend of ours. You're a friend of ours. You want to introduce her?
One of our bodybuilders friends.
I will consider myself a friend and a bodybuilder, if you'd like.
So I might as well give you a good introduction here. Ms. Lisa Moore is with us, and Lisa's a very, very experienced, although you'd never be able to tell, she looks like she's a day out of college, attorney over at, I'm going to get this wrong, Klehr, Harrison, Harvey, and Branzburg.
It's Klehr Harrison.
So close. And they are out of Philadelphia and New Jersey. So Lisa, we are very happy to have you here. I'm so glad you could hang out with us this weekend.
Thank you for having me.
Lisa, I know when we talked, the last couple of weeks, we were always very interested in the divorce rate in not only New Jersey, but for that matter, in the country. Now, you must be on fire, and must be on fire because of the divorce rate. What is it, 50, 60% now?
Well, yeah, it is. It's about 50, 60% sometimes in some places, but you can't really look at those statistics. It's on, off. I think the economy has a lot to do with it. I think when the economy goes bad, people go south. And it's sad.
Because of the economy now, because people are not getting divorced quicker as they used to be, or is it just holding out for the market to come back? Or
no, people are getting divorced because the money's not there anymore. People just get divorced. I don't necessarily know if it's because it's better, the economy's worse. People just get divorced. I don't see any spike or any difference really over the years. It's pretty consistent.
And because you work both in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, is there a big difference in terms of divorce rates in New Jersey, or is it more or less than Pennsylvania?
Well, my firm is in both Pennsylvania and New Jersey. I'm in the New Jersey office. I'm licensed in New Jersey, but we have 5 other attorneys in Pennsylvania, Klehr Harrison, who are licensed in Pennsylvania. And so, but I can tell you from my conversations with my colleagues that yes, they're quite busy as well. I don't think there's any difference over the bridge.
Go ahead.
Now, I would think because the economy is so tough, and the cost of living is just, it's rough, and real estate being the way it is, that people are holding out to get divorced because they can't make it on their own. Pooling income for maybe one home is hard enough that now I'm living here, ex-husband's living here, we've got 2 separate bills, we can't do it, but you don't see that happening?
I think for some people that is a consideration, but I think overall when people are done, they're done. And I also think that the economic stress sometimes drives a wedge in a relationship, and people get divorced because of the economics, because sometimes they get married because of the economics.
Well, that leads you to my first question for you, Lisa. You ready now? You holding on? Because I got a few of them for you.
Strapped in.
And the first one is going to put a little in my shoe here. A real big thorn is the alimony question. I mean, I know the alimony is a big situation, especially in New Jersey, different than Pennsylvania, what I'm aware of. But I understand there's an alimony reform in New Jersey movement going on. Could you share that with the audience with us?
Well, right now, the alimony in New Jersey is governed by statute, and there are 13 factors that the court must consider when evaluating an alimony claim. What's going on with the alimony reform movement is that there's not consistency. So at this point, there are several bills which were pending this year. And the only bill which has made it out of committee this year is the alimony standards, where they're going to establish a committee to kind of look at the whole thing. Because you have at one end people who want stability. They want to know. They want guidelines. And then you have at the other end of the spectrum a movement towards flexibility, towards not a cookie-cutter approach. And I believe that once they get out of committee, it will be somewhat of a middle ground. Because right now you have such a differential from one end to the state to the other, from one judge to the other, and it's very difficult to tell a client, this is what it's going to be. This is how many years you're going to have to pay alimony. This is how much alimony you're going to have to pay. Because these 13 factors take into consideration ability to pay, lifestyle, did a spouse, what was the economic effect of this marriage to these parties? And, you have one end thinks that, there has to be a termination date, and another end feels that, I've been married, I committed for life, and I need to be supported for life. And the problem is, and I find this a lot now, there's the graying of the country. America's getting older, the population's getting older, and they want to retire. And a lot of these people cannot retire because how the law is structured right now.
Oh, no doubt. The other thing is, it's because we live so close to Pennsylvania, and the laws are completely different from PA to New Jersey. It's just sad because 6 miles away, we're in PA, and the laws are completely opposite of New Jersey.
Well, it depends who you are. If you are the recipient, perhaps you would like to live in New Jersey right now, and perhaps if you are the payor, you're gonna go move to Center City, get yourself a bachelor pad, bachelorette pad.
I don't know if that's a recommendation here. I want to switch gears just a little bit and talk about something that it's very, very important when it comes to child support. How does New Jersey law deal with child support? I mean, what's going on there? That's a whole different cost aside from alimony.
Yeah, it's on top of alimony. Actually, it's completely a different consideration. However, in New Jersey, we have child support guidelines. And as long as the parties jointly do not earn in excess of $3,600 net per week, you just pop her numbers in, his numbers in, and it spits out a number. Now, a factor, which is one of the gray areas, is that the amount of overnights the non-custodial parent comes into play, and it diminishes the amount of child support that can get paid. So at times you do have, I don't want to say a game, but it's a game, where people will try to get more overnights, not because it's in the child's best interest and not because they have the capability, but because it will reduce the child support obligation. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, a lot of people believe that the child support that they're getting per the guidelines, it does not even dent how much child support, how much it costs to raise a child. It doesn't. The consideration of differences in the state for auto insurance, et cetera, that's not really a consideration.
And the other thing is, I mean, you talk about cost, you have to throw in college costs now. Who pays for that and under those rules?
Well, New Jersey is a minority state. And in New Jersey, there is a requirement to pay for college. And there's case law and standards that the court applies when determining whether a parent should contribute and how much that cost should be. In other states, that's not the case. 18, you're done. Many of the southern states, Pennsylvania, completely different story. But in New Jersey, even in a situation where your parents may not have contributed towards college had they remained intact because they're divorced, now they're required to pay for to pay for college for you.
So that's interesting. So really, you could be on the hook for what, till maybe age 26? I mean, is there an end?
You could be contributing if that was the expectation of the parents. You could be paying for this child to go to medical school. You could have a 32-year-old dependent.
Wow. Think first. Think first
before you live in New Jersey, or because
before other actions. Now, what if and I've seen this happen with quite a few of our clients, and it's a big uproar, and it's scary if you're a parent. What if a parent wants to leave the state with a child? Mom wants to go live with family, I don't know, in California, or dad says, I want to go to Texas and I want to take the kids with me, or I want them to be there. How do you get a handle on that situation?
It's a very big problem because on one side you have the parent who wants to move, who feels that they are now prisoner of the state, and you have the other parent who it is going to really adversely impact on their relationship with their children. If a parent moves particularly far away, moves to California if you live in New Jersey, for example, We have a statute, the relocation statute, which states that you can't leave without either consent of the parties or a court order. And there's a case, Bowers, which lays out the factors that the court considers if you seek to move. And it's not a particularly onerous burden. So you have to show that you have a good faith reason for the move. And good faith reason could be, I want to be closer to family, the economics are better in this other state. And then you must show that it is not inimical to the children's best interest, meaning it's not harmful, which is a pretty easy burden to show. Then the burden of proof switches to the other side. And then they come back, and they come back with those statutes. And they're the saddest cases I have, and they're the most litigated cases because there's really no answer. And it's very difficult. However, with the advent of Skype and, that we really live much closer based upon, our media nowadays, it's much easier. However, I don't think, a hug via Skype.
No, I was just going to say, I'm not sure that, Girl Talk with Mom over Skype would have cut it when I was 12 years old and upset because, I didn't get asked to the dance. Yeah, you know what? It might have made me tougher.
Hey, Mom, I have that on tape now.
Yeah, right. Thanks, Mom, for not Skype hugging me, for doing it in person. I want to talk about palimony and the state of palimony in New Jersey. Now, for those of us who aren't familiar with what palimony is, they might think it's a typo. From what I understand, that's the dealing with financial assets or property when you're not actually married, but maybe you're living together.
Well, yeah, and it's based upon a promise to support, a promise, not based upon the legal rights you have if you marry someone, which is why we have laws relating to marriage and not to hanging out or living with each other. What happened was it really was turned on its head. People would be suing estates, people who were married and getting and receiving alimony and being awarded alimony. And so in 2010, the statute of frauds was amended, and now you must have a writing, and you must be represented by counsel, and it must be executed by both of the parties in order for these agreements to be enforceable. Now, again, very much as happens in New Jersey, there's a case pending before the Supreme Court, cert which was granted Maker, which is trying to carve out some exceptions to this rule. But for, 3 years we had some certainty. So stay tuned.
Another question I'm sure you've been getting, or at least situations, is same-sex marriages. How you dealing with that? Have you had any of those?
Everyone has a right to now suffer equally under the alimony laws, the child support laws. Yeah, right. We're all in it together now.
But would you say it's so? I mean, it's kind of strange when you hear it. But have you dealt with that yet, with the same-sex marriage?
Well, it's just happened. It's just happened. But I've dealt with dissolution of civil unions and stuff like that. But again, if people are committed. And people enter into a legally committed relationship, they're bound by the laws. So we're all in this together.
Well, you never know in the world of Kim Kardashian, 72-day marriages? You just might see some of these cases very soon. You just never know. Now, I have a question, though. The palimony situation, is that similar to common law? And does that person have to be in a romantic relationship? Or, could that be... Like you said, we're buddies and hanging out, so now I have this contract with you?
It's a promise. I promise to support you. And what I would find when people would come in pre-2010, I know that it's impossible to believe that I was practicing law that late ago, they would come in with a Valentine's Day card. So memo to self, don't send a Valentine's Day card to anyone telling them how much you adore them. Because they would say this was the promise. The promise was, and they would come up with Valentine's Day cards and just how I was held out in the community. He took me to dinner. She took me to business meetings. I helped build the business. And it was a very sticky situation, particularly when one of them died. Because then, you had the woman in the back of the funeral with the dark glasses, or the man. Who is that person? And meanwhile, it was, Grandpa's, paramour for 50 years.
Very nice. I like that story. Yeah. We can dig deep in that one. What's going on with the social media uses in divorce cases? I know you have, social media, listen, when I got in this business, I don't want to tell you how many years ago, But there was no such thing as social media. I mean, it really wasn't. Now it's out there.
You're learning now. You're
I am
you're
learning.
slowly
You-
dipping
you
your,
have-
your
Can you
toe
text?
into
You have,
Facebook.
I'm dipping my toe into social media. I'm understanding what some of these things mean, but how's it, how's divorce is being affected by social media in these divorce
Well,
cases?
it's your ability to obtain information, which if you put it up there, it's out there. Don't put that picture, of you and your girlfriend, or you drinking and saying that you're a great parent and you're going to be home at night, and meanwhile you're out at the bars every night, and your wife or your husband comes back with 72 pictures of you, on spring break with your 22-year-old girlfriend, boyfriend.
You're 42.
42, right?
That makes sense. Well, you know what? It's almost like the same advice you'd give to your kid. If you put it out there, it can be used against
and
you.
it's there forever. And what you don't realize is that even if you're not friends or you're not authorized, your friends' may be authorized. And so it's the problem is that when we're using that social media, the problem is how you obtained it. Because, again, there's privacy issues. You can't
Sure.
break into someone's passwords and stuff like that.
But I guess it's just something that complicates things even more, or makes it easier in some cases. I've got I guess not so much a question, but a topic. Everybody who listens knows I'm very, very passionate about empowering women to really take control of their own finances. And sometimes taking control just means knowledge. I have seen so many clients, and even shockingly, some of my peers have no idea what's going on when they're married. And, to me, I think, well, gosh, that's so 1950s, but I still see it, and I'm sure you do. What's your advice to women out there, to the women that are listening, whether they're getting married? You tell me.
Well, it's my advice to women and men because, the power is shifting and women are out there, women are making money. So a lot of times men are supported as well. And so I do find that clients will come in, and there's a lot of old school clients who don't even know what their husbands or wives do for a living or where they're deriving their income. They don't know where their bank accounts are. They don't know what stocks they have. So, you really need to be proactive, and you really need to know what your bank accounts are. Just even in terms of death, if someone were to die, you need to know where the wills are, where everything's buried, because you're going to be called upon at some point.
Yeah. Does Mrs. Yocavitch know where the coffee can of cash is buried?
I saw it. No,
Any
in that
idea?
trash dumpster.
I think she knows.
Somebody knows.
She knows more than you, probably.
No doubt.
No, I think it's very important, and we're big advocates of knowing, even if you don't make the primary decision, you have to know what's going on.
Well, what do you advise your clients in terms of information gathering?
Well, we use a platform called the Living Balance Sheet, so we have everything documented through WebExes, or not WebExes, but computerized, almost like a cloud with our clients. We have all their information that we can share with them anytime we want, 24/7. So the point to it is that we have that information before they get married, or actually before they marry and during their marriage. So for us, it's an easy transition to have that information. So we're going through a case right now, actually, where a divorce is starting, and the gentleman called me, and he said, "Do you have all the?" And yes, we have all the
Did
information.
he say burn it, or did he
I don't
say?
know, we should, but he didn't say that. But the fact that we have all that information, we collect it, we organize most of our clients in detail. So when they asked us for information, and in our case, we're using it purposely for retirement planning, but it also helps the accountant and everyone else. But in divorces, not ever thinking about that, this becomes a very viable
But let me throw
tool.
this out. Let me throw this out to you.
Sure.
In terms of your responsibilities, say you are representing one of the spouses, and the other spouse comes in and says, "I want to see my stuff." Are you going to say you have to subpoena it, or you're going to give it up? Do you have some kind of confidentiality agreement that they sign when they retain you? How are you handling that?
Right now, we would probably have to be subpoenaed for that information if they're going through a legitimate divorce. If they're going through the processes, they're going to have to subpoena that information if that would be the case. So in our case, because of security reasons and compliance, we'd have to be subpoenaed for that information if they're going through a divorce.
So is there a HIPAA kind of situation in your field, or no?
Yes.
Well, it would just be, like a legal subpoena. Now, the interesting part comes when we have a client that, husband and wife that came to us as husband and wife, and we've been working with them, which we see that more often than not. And they're both of our clients, so we have to be very equal in the way we deal with them and unbiased. Now, if it should happen that they decided that they're not comfortable for whatever reason, continuing to both work with us, then we make provisions at that point. But a lot of times, if they've been with us forever, they know that we're unbiased, and we now deal with the wife and we deal with the husband, but separately.
Well, listen, Lise, we're going to be, we appreciate so much you coming out here and talking to us. We love you, and we love to see you again. They do some of our show with us, so we definitely want to see you again and talk to you again about certain things that are happening, in the marketplace. That we recognize that because of this subject, and it's happening more and more and more, like we said earlier, people don't stay married for, 50, 60 years forever. It's happening more and more. So we want to thank you for coming out and sharing information with us, and I'm sure our audience also appreciates it. So, thanks for hanging out with us for,
Great, thanks for having me.
And I do want to note before you leave, if anybody has a question for Lisa, or if you want to get in touch with her, of course, you can always drop that to us at www.jmlfinancialgroup.com. But Lisa, give everyone your contact information should they need to consult with you regarding your services.
You can always reach me at lmoore@klehr.com.
Okay, very good. And if you missed that, again, don't hesitate to contact us. We'll get you in touch with Lisa. And our number here is 856-751-1771. And it's www.jmlfinancialgroup.com. And Lisa, we are happy to have you. It's good information, sometimes a little not exactly what we want to talk about, but it's a fact of life. It is what it is. We're happy to have her here, aren't we?
All right,
Thank
Lisa.
you. And join us again. It's Main Street Money here on Cruisin' 92.1 FM, WVLT.
Listen to me.
I heard you, Joe.
I mean the listening audience, Tracy.
Okay, when?
Every Saturday, 11 o'clock, we get real about money and we have fun.
That's right. We'll simplify all the issues when it comes to your money and give you some tips on how to make it, protect it, and keep it.
But they have to listen.
Okay, you can only ask nicely.
All right. It's Main Street Money coming to you every Saturday from 11 to 12 on Cruisin' 92.1 FM WVLT.
And we're back. It is Main Street Money here on Cruisin' 92.1 FM WVLT. I am Traci Kelly, and with me is the almighty Joe Yocavitch. And we're coming at you every Saturday from 11 to 12 and talking about the truth about money, the things that you need to know, not the things that Wall Street wants you to know or your banker wants you to know, the things you need to know, information you can use, news you can use, if you will. And I kind of want to talk about some perception versus reality. We all have a way of seeing things, and sometimes they are not so. Joe, how your perception of yourself is that you're 21. But I'm not sure that that's reality.
No, you're right.
You know what I'm talking about?
After that last workout, I don't feel like I'm 21.
Like 3 days ago? You're still hurting? Oh, Joe.
I'm still recovering. I know you're hurting too.
You need some Epsom salt baths.
You got
Need some water, some Epsom salt baths, but
wine.
And wine, and definitely more water. But what I mean when it comes to our money, there's an alarming difference between perception and reality when it comes to retirement. What I'm talking about is only 33% of today's workers expect Social Security will be a major source of retirement income. But 70% of current retirees report that Social Security plays a huge role in their retirement strategy. So what gives? I mean, people say they don't expect it, yet then they need it.
Well, the numbers have coming out more and more. We see the analytics about what Social Security will look like in the future in terms of retired workers. And on average right now, I think the monthly benefit for retired workers is somewhere under $1,200 a month.
Yeah.
And by the way, some of that is taxable. So be aware of that. So the amount that we're being forced on some hard decisions that we're going to have to make. The other thing is if you read, because of the fact of retirees are coming out, in droves of 10,000 supposedly a day, it's going to put a tremendous amount of pressure on the system to continue to pay those dollars out. And if you factor in inflation on that dollar and you factor in more people coming out, it might not be around for some folks that are in their 20s and 30s. Oh. So it's going to change. And I truly believe it's going to change. And even as I receive that, not more than 10, 15 years away, because more people are coming out and living longer. That was never calculated in any equation. And that's the biggest concern. I mean, they're talking about increasing it, in my case, 66, and now it's going to be increased to 67 for people younger than I. But again, it's a tremendous pressure with Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. So it's going to change, and be ready for the change. So it's what we always say: save more, live on less, because it's going to come a day that cash flow stops, your work stops, and how do you continue to live the quality of life that you're used to?
And be ready for the change. First thing is have a strategy, have a plan in place. And, you may need to change your perception of risk when you are looking at retirement.
Right.
I mean, during your working years, you might have characterized your risk as conservative or moderate or I'm aggressive. And that's how you built your portfolio. It's not necessarily that way in retirement. You have to decide what kind of risk you can or you want to take, because it's less about grow when there's no income coming in. So in retirement, we're really concerned with consistency, with guarantees in some cases, and
right.
with income, because you're depleting that money bucket, so to speak, and there's nothing coming back in to replenish it.
But we're big advocates of talking to people about this, and more importantly, we talk to people about cash flow as opposed to net worth. We just had we were just doing a presentation workshop boot camp for the Gloucester County Chamber, and we specifically talked about what net worth is versus cash flow. And in this case, if you think about it, ladies and gentlemen, net worth is only, and I mean only, good for what it is left to your heirs or charity. The real focus should be, how do I take net worth and make it into a cash flow strategy? And we're talking about, how that looks like when you're dealing with retirement planning and strategy planning. In terms of the back end, is how much cash flow are you going to receive in your retirement years? Now, if you think about it, what we said earlier, Tracy, you know what? You're going to live a lot longer. So the idea of living for maybe 10 or 12 years after retirement now is lengthened to 25 years, in some cases 30 years. So think about it. If people are now living in their 90s, will they have enough saved up adequately to keep themselves in a quality of life that they're accustomed to? I mean,
right.
To me, that's the biggest concern that we talk about to our clients all the time.
And if you are a woman, on average, you'll live 5 years longer than
right.
your husband, and 50% of us are expected to live past 85. Oh, Lord help me.
Can you imagine?
Lord help all this hold up past 85.
Well, Trace, did you know the fact that now life insurance, I don't know if you know that, not to segue away from that, but today life insurance policies are built for 120.
Oh, yeah.
They're talking about someone today born could almost guarantee to live past 100 years of age.
Wow.
We have right now in our society, right now in the U.S., over 200,000 people at over 100 years of age. They never planned for that. It just happened. So just be aware of that, folks. You could live well into your 80s, 90s, and close to 100. We're seeing more and more of that.
Yeah, so you really need to have a plan, and I hate to say it, a budget. I mean, I'm already budgeting my Botox in my 80s. I can't even imagine the amount that it's going to take to...
Who did we just see the other day? Somebody...
Joan Collins.
How about that
Iman.
picture? Was that shocking to you?
My gosh. Whatever they're doing, I need to know, because I think both women are in their 70s, if not Joan Collins, maybe 80. I'm not sure, but I didn't see a wrinkle on their face, and I don't think it wasn't a Photoshop picture
it
because
wasn't.
it was somebody we knew that actually took the photo. Ladies, you're
amazing
doing an
to me.
amazing job.
Unbelievable.
Shout out to www.jmlfinancialgroup.com. If you know how Joan Collins is doing it, I must know.
I'm going to say she looked great. I wanted to get just a little serious before we ended our show today. We had the opportunity, obviously, working with or talking with Lisa Moore, but there's a couple tax strategies that are going to start to aspire in 2013. One is the teacher's classroom expense deduction. You need to be aware of some of these things, so start asking your professional, your CPA, your accountant about what is provided for, and the educators who work in the school systems, what you're able to deduct up to. The other thing that we talked about all the time is the mortgage deductions. Be aware of that, and sometimes you make too much money. Some of those deductions will go away, so be aware of that very much. The other thing, Tracy, if you look at the third or fourth one that we pointed out, was the IRA deductions or distributions, I should say, to charity. People older than 70 are required to take what they call a minimum distribution. And if you take any of that distribution and you give it to a charity, there's no tax. You have a tax break on that. So be aware of that.
Yeah, another one for us that take public transit, which, gosh, I remember doing that. That can get expensive. In 2013, employees can spend up to $245 pre-tax per month on transit benefits such as rail passes, which is actually on par with the $245 pre-tax they can spend on parking. Now, come 2014, that public transportation benefit will drop to $130 per month pre-tax, while higher parking benefits will remain. So, if you're taking the Speed Line or the subway or SEPTA, whatever you're doing around here, make sure you take advantage of that higher 2013 deduction.
The other thing is the state and local sales tax. If you pay state or local income tax, you can deduct that amount from your federal tax if you itemize. So be aware of that. Another thing that I don't see it happening just now or just yet. You are able to, if you own an electric car, you can buy if you do have a qualified electric plug-in vehicle, you may be eligible up to a tax credit up to $7,500, depending on the side of the car and the battery pack. So we're seeing more of those vehicles out there. We went to the car show. We saw a few of those, and I know we're involved with some folks at the law firm, and they are getting more involved with these electrical cars. I don't think they're able to catch up because of there's not enough of these places to plug in if you're taking a long road trip. So, but again, for those of you that own an electric car, there's a $7,500 tax credit for all of you.
And if you are remodeling your home for energy efficiency, going green, you can take a credit of up to $500 over your lifetime, and that's going away like right now. Right. So if you haven't done that, you need to get on top of that and at least get something back for going green, other than the good karma with Mother Nature, because this planet needs some help.
Absolutely. The other thing we talk about, Tracy, quite a bit, and I don't want to jump around here, but one thing we talk about in terms of taxes, and we talk about savings, and we talk about how to recoup losses and forward them in our tax return. The first thing we talk about, obviously, is looking at debt and budgeting that you said earlier. But more importantly, for those of you that are retiring, and if you are in a situation where you're going to retire shortly or within the next couple of years, think about one thing that we talk about all the time. Make sure you take a line of credit against your home, because any time along the way, if you do it before you retire, you have an income. And what banks are looking at are do you have enough money if, God forbid, if something happened in terms of an emergency. So we always suggest to all of you to take a line of credit against your real estate, even though you're not taking it out. It's just a backup plan for, an emergency purpose, because if you do go into retirement, and, we see that, if you don't take that out, or at least apply for it, the banks or whoever you're working with will look at your income, because they're looking at income more than anything else and assets, and they're just not just saying, okay, you have enough assets, it's okay to get a line of credit. You need to take it out as you're working, because they're going to investigate your income from your work.
Well, not just in retirement, but should you become disabled or should
Correct.
you get laid off from your job, it's going to be darn difficult, if not impossible, to get a line of credit. And that may be the exact time that you need to utilize one. So it's always a good preventative option to take out that line of credit when you're healthy and working.
You know, it's when you say that, Tracy, is an annualcreditreport.com that you can obtain for a free copy of your credit report from Equifax and some of the credit report companies. So, again, good to know. Get a free credit source once a month, or at least check your credit just in case, because we're seeing more and more, as you said earlier, fraudulent situations that happen with people. So, again, check your credit from time to time to make sure, you don't get a bad credit report, and it could jeopardize, what you're trying to accomplish in terms of consolidating, and things of this nature.
Well, I also think that if you are in the ball game of getting married anytime soon, maybe you should check your reports together, because when you marry someone, you marry their credit and you marry their debt.
Yes, you do.
So go on that site and check both of those things so you understand, because not that you should make decisions predicated on money when it comes to love, but I do think that marriage, like anything else, is it's a business, and you need to know how to deal with that. And as Lisa talked about, money is a huge cause of stress and could lead to divorce. So it's always best to talk about those things.
Well, and it's funny you say that, but it's not funny, actually. It's a personal view on two different people that have two completely sometimes different views on how money works. Like you and I have a different type of view on what we do in terms of our belief system and the behavior about money. Pardon me?
We do?
I think, you love to buy shoes constantly.
Really? When was the last time I was at DSW?
I don't know.
I buy shoes constantly.
Yeah, you have a lot of shoes. I've never seen you wear the same
Yes,
pair.
you
Like
have.
today, you have a nice pair of shoes on, nice
Yes,
boots.
you have. You're spreading lies and rumors. My shopping is not out of control,
Not
because
right
I don't
now.
believe in that.
Yes.
I don't believe in that. No, I think you should treat yourself, and you should always look for a deal.
You do treat yourself.
Excuse me, who was the last person that went on a shoe buying binge?
I knew you were. I was waiting for that to come
Twice
down. The
in the
hammer
past
was
6
coming.
months.
The hammer was coming
So
down.
you
on
can
me.
dish it out, but you cannot take it.
was
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Yocavitch goes on some shoe buying binges.
When I'm feeling low. I was feeling low when I went out.
So
and
it's
bought a
even
pair.
worse. You do it. It's emotional spending. Wow. Do you want to talk about it? Do you want to talk about what's going on?
As
what's
it relates
making
to
you...
money, or is it?
No, I feel like there's some issues you need to talk about. Maybe you need to get off your chest so you don't go buying frivolous things.
No, not I. Well, I do my best not to.
Well,
believe me.
when it comes to, I guess, marriage and money, what's your take on joint bank accounts, joining accounts with the one?
Well, you know what? If it's done correctly, and I mean, in my case, I've been married for 25 years, and again, I'm an anomaly in the world of what we just heard from Lisa Moore. It is. I have joint accounts. I have single accounts. I have a company account. So it's a little different for me. But I think that Lisa would, if she was here, if she would say, if that would ever happen, there's going to be a separation, and the separation with money, and now everything is tracked. So does it really matter if you have?
Are you dodging the question though?
No,
Because
I'm not
I'm
dodging at
I'm
all.
not
What makes you
talking
think I'm
about-
dodging it?
Well, I asked you what's your take. Do you think couples should have joint or not? Let's not look at this from the standpoint of if how their things are getting tracked. Everything gets tracked.
Well-
Do you think it's a smart idea to have
I
joint
think it
accounts?
is. I think it is, but not just when you first marry someone immediately.
So like a trial period?
Well, yeah, like a trial period. Well, it's like marriages. I think it's a trial period sometimes when you
No.
see. Well, think about it. If you go into a relationship and you're going in a joint and it ends. You talked about Kardashian. Think about it. Is it something that you're both accustomed to? Matter of fact, it should be spoken about pre-marriage, not
Yes.
after.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a conversation you need to have before you're married. So let's bring that up, and that's the most important thing. So I think that conversation needs to be, really put out there before you. So if you have a great relationship with someone, if you're,
Which you should if you're getting married.
correct. Well, it's again. I mean,
But you
we
should.
hear stuff that all
You-
the time,
you need to
separate
have
accounts.
these and I don't think there's a right or wrong. I think it's whatever you're comfortable with and whatever you.
Are you comfortable with to have
predetermined.
a joint account with your man?
I would think I would be if I was in a marriage situation. I also think that you should have small separate accounts. Small, nothing crazy, but you know what? You're going to make purchases that I'm going to go, are you
Is that
kidding me?
shoebox small? Or are you talking?
Absolutely, because I'm going to see,
Shoebox. So you're a
golf
shoebox.
course or a fishing trip and stupid money that I'd rather just kind of not have the fight. Just like you may see they may see spa day or something like
Well,
that.
it's not only
but
that.
small. The big.
What is small? Small is there's a lot of small.
Couple 100,000, nothing big.
I thought so.
No big deal.
But the point is, the conversation, like we talked about, should be taking place
Yes.
before you actually go through the marriage
Yes.
itself. I mean, that's conversation, and again, I don't know what the time frame would be, but I would think before
Second date.
Second date, okay, that's a little aggressive, but
No,
I hear you. But yeah,
it
I
should
know.
be taking place.
The conversation should be, definitely taking place. And that's something that most couples, especially, we talked about this earlier, women especially, they should be the one to be proactive of having that conversation, be taking place.
Absolutely. So, ladies, gentlemen, have the business talk. I know
You
it's
got
not
it.
the
I'd
most
like to hear it.
romantic, but maybe pop a bottle of champagne.
Well, Trace, we're going to tell you before we crack the bottle of champagne, we are going to be heading out here today. And I want to say it's always a pleasure talking to you. We had a great show with Lisa Moore, so another great weekend with you. It's Main Street Money every Saturday from 11 to 12. I'm Joe Yocavitch, and with me, as usual, is Traci Kelly. Tracy, have a great weekend.
Bye, everyone.